Alright guys, and we are back with the Big Fudge Experience. My co-hosts Matthew Bachman and now co-commissioner Tom Bevilacqua. Welcome back, boys.
Let's go.
Welcome back was a little quicker for us than it was for everybody else. Welcome back to the season. Off-season was a little long, but here we go. Here we go
Off-season,
again, right?
Off-season was long. It's been a long 8 months. We had a draft. We had a lot of trades. We had a lot of bullshit going down. Typical bullshit from that, other podcast. We had another corrupt election, even though we did put co-host Bev in as co-commissioner now. Bev, is there anything you would like to say to the league?
Order will prevail. We are back, and the corrupt commissioner will no longer stand unopposed.
There are rumors, of bringing in a third-party consultant commissioner or two in Zuck and Taddy. I am one who is in support of this. I think they could do a good job. I think we need some
I think it's good for the vibes. I mean,
they bring the vibes. We're also just pissing through commissioners at this point.
To be fair,
you guys didn't vote me in.
I've been piss poor.
Joe was commissioner twice.
Yeah, we had 2 terms of Joe.
You guys voted him twice before me.
Man, I don't think anybody actually voted Joe in either time. I asked Joe to be co-commissioner first year, and then second year, when Tim had his Fugazi election, Joe just happened to be on the ticket, man. It was like Mike Pence in 2016. He was just there.
Along for the ride.
And then we had Sleepy Joe for the past few years, and Jimmy, and his whole job was just to collect the money, and he still pulled some backhanded shit. But now we've gotten both Sleepy Joes out of office, and we're working on cleaning some things up. So hopefully you do some good things, Bev. I'm rooting for you. But now it's time to get to the meat and bones of this episode, which is the draft recap and a recap of our offseason. Bev, I know you have some prepared. If you want to pull that up for the league.
Got a little PowerPoint or something ready?
Oh, that's us.
Something.
What's up, brother?
And moving into my traditional third year running draft grades. This time, gonna be the best out of all of them. Let's get right into it. 101. Sam took a pretty solid draft. Only had 3 picks. But I gave him an A for taking Marvin Harrison, Caleb, and Jonathan Brooks. Really think he took the best at every position here. Marvin Harrison's probably generational talent. In redraft leagues, he's currently getting drafted in the first round, which has never happened before. Caleb Williams, whatever your questions are about him, he's going to be a starting quarterback for probably at least 3 years. Even if he does fail, he's going to get points that way. Good way to help him build. Jonathan Brooks, first running back off the board. He's going to be solid. He's going to contribute. He's going to have a solid draft class here.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much to Sam. I don't really think there's much Sam could have done better here. Obviously, Marvin Harrison, the clear 101. There's really no argument there whatsoever. Caleb Williams, solid pick. Jonathan Brooks, I obviously wanted him.
Nice.
Yeah. No, looking at Sam's draft, he very clearly had the best draft out of anybody. 3 first-round picks. And if you just look across the board in the league, position by position, things were mocked up. He took the best player in the draft, the best receiver in the draft. He took what people are saying is the best quarterback in the draft, and he took the highest drafted running back, and the best running back in the league, in the draft. I think Jonathan Brooks and Marvin Harrison are both solid picks. I think they're probably the 2 most likely to be contributors this year. I know Jonathan Brooks is coming in with an injury, but that backfield's wide open. Marvin Harrison's going to be a stud. There's no question about that. And I have my doubts about Caleb Williams, crying in his mother's lap when he loses games, painting his nails, never really did much. He won a pity Heisman, because, all the liberals in college football really kind of stepped in. But the NFL is going to see right through that. He can have all the weapons in the world. He's not a leader of men. And, all those tough-nosed NFL players are going to see right through that. And he's going to crumble under pressure, just like every time he did when he played a good team at USC.
I'm just saying, if he goes the 101, you're definitely going to have an opportunity to start for a couple years. He's going to retain value.
Man, he's going to start, but I don't know how good he's really going to be. And, you have to take him there if you're Sam. He's the best on paper. Supposed to be the best quarterback in this draft. I didn't think it was a good quarterback class to begin with. There was a whole lot of meh. But so he's got the highest upside. He's got that running ability. Can sling the ball, but I think he's got some character issues that need to get worked out. And that's not a guy I would want on my team. But I get the pick.
Dino's all about the locker room problems. He can't have the character issues.
I cannot. That's why I rostered Robert Woods for so long. He was just a real good presence in the locker room. Just I'm trying to rebuild my young core, and it was time for him to go. And need big 6'6" Johnny Wilson.
Moving on. The second overall pick, we had Nap. He took Rome Odunze at 102. Xavier Worthy, I believe, with 106. Keon Coleman, the 108. And Marshawn Lloyd and Jalen Kirk on the second. I give him a B for this. These are pretty solid players. I don't think it's the best for a win now kind of thing. And I really thought he should have taken Caleb Williams. Wouldn't have needed to trade for Dak at all. Plus, he would have had the stack. I feel like if Rome is going to work out, then it's going to be with Caleb, or at least for the 4-year stint that he's going to be there. Xavier Worthy wasn't my favorite. Chiefs have kind of this knack for drafting undersized, fast receivers. So I'm sure as soon as they saw Xavier Worthy beat the 40 time, they were coming their little pants.
We are going to recreate Tyreek
Hill
in the aggregate.
He's a better player. He's a better player than Sky Moore and MVS, wherever the hell they were dealing with this kind of with. But, as soon as they brought in Rashee Rice, a big body for Patrick Mahomes, he instantly worked. And then he, started driving his car 104 miles an hour.
Happens.
I just don't.
All the best athletes do it.
I think there's a bit of a curse around this speedster kind of guy. Loved Keon. Think he's a dog. Highlight tape reel. Apparently he can't do separation. Nonsense. Marshawn Lloyd was a smart pick. I didn't like him as a player, but considering he's already got Josh Jacobs, it makes sense to get the handcuff for him. Jalen Polk, solid player, opportunity to be the one in New England. He's fine.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Bev, you pretty much hit on the nose there. The biggest thing with Rome is Knapp keeps saying year after year he's in win now mode, but at best, he is wide receiver 3 on that team for this year and probably next year. So if you're in win now mode, I don't see how that's the winning strategy overall, just my opinion. Xavier Worthy, I like him. I was actually trying to trade up with him. Good guy. Definitely think, it's always good to have Mahomes as your quarterback. It's always going to be something consistent. It's always, kind of know what you're going to get. You're never really going to get dud overall. Keon Coleman, probably his favorite pick of mine overall. And then Boyd and Polk, kind of like you said, I don't have much comment on them. It's kind of whatever.
Yeah, looking at Knapp's squad and the guys that he drafted, it made sense what he did. He's just spraying and praying at receiver, and he's hoping one or two of these guys really hit. Romo Duze, I think Neighbors was the pick there, even though we all know how I feel about the Giants, and we'll get to that in a sec. But he's going to be solid, but where are the targets this year? He might be viable 2-3 years down the road. It just kind of depends on how that offense shakes out. Who does Caleb Williams really like? Is that offense really going to be firing on all cylinders? Xavier Worthy, same deal. Could be an explosive offense. It's going to be an explosive offense. It's the Chiefs. But where are your targets coming from? You still have Rashee Rice. You still have Travis Kelce. They brought in Hollywood. They got guys. And so it's he's got to have to find a way to carve himself out there. And they, like I just kind of said, they're really trying to recreate Tyreek Hill in the aggregate. It's like Nap out at the bar. I guess it's just his philosophy these days. Just, hitting singles, getting on base. But when you're playing fantasy football, you're looking for home runs here. You're not gonna win this league with singles, baby. And then he drafted Keon Coleman, and this is a guy that I like, but I hope I don't like him for the wrong reasons. And we kind of talked about this before, but just kind of how he played in college, how his stats came in, kind of how he's built. frankly, he reminded me a lot of Quentin Johnston and how I felt about him coming out of college. And so I really liked him, but we all saw how that turned out. It kind of scared me away. I was in some talks to try to trade up to potentially draft him. None of that really worked out. I wasn't really in love with it. And well, obviously made my other moves this offseason, but all those guys are big question marks. Maybe they work out, maybe they don't. Marshawn Lloyd's the handcuff for Josh Jacobs, but where's his opportunity? And Jalen Polk probably is the best opportunity out of the four of them, but as your back of the second round guy, Patriots offense is just a whole bunch of bleh, just a squad of wide receiver threes. Every single wide receiver on that team is a wide receiver 3, just going through that roster. So it's like there's opportunity there, but how good is that offense really going to be? And KJ Osborne's a wide receiver 1, if I'm not mistaken, Bev.
Yeah, dude, can he beat KJ Osborne?
Yeah, man. It's a big pickup of mine this offseason, KJ Osborne. Tim, I had to pry him out of Tim's cold, dead hands. I had to beat him over the head with a stick to get KJ Osborne off his roster. So
KJ Osborne, he was Justin Jefferson's worst nightmare.
Oh yeah. Well, we heard for years. Here we are.
Overall, solid draft, I think.
It's a solid draft, but a big question mark for somebody who thinks they're going to win this year, especially drafting around the guys that he could have had. Could have had Brock Bowers. Could have had Ladd McConkey. Could have had Jonathan Brooks. All those guys help him this year. And he drafted around him and took all the question marks next to him. So it's a big something to think about.
Moving on to Blacccchllalman at the 103. Took Malik Neighbors and Xavier Legette.
Special teams, special plays, special players.
The Miami Vice.
The Miami Vice, little floater on top.
I gave him a B+ just for the positions he was in. It was pretty solid picks. Neighbors kind of just fell into your lap. I mean, that was kind of a no-brainer pick. Out of the top 3, there's kind of a cliff. Neighbors definitely going to have an opportunity in order to contribute this year. I mean, obviously, the Giants' offense is not very impressive, but they got to throw the ball somewhere, and I kind of think Neighbors has an opportunity in order to get, like, 70% of these targets. He's going to be bonkers, I think, because he's not really competing with anybody. Didn't really love the Xavier Legette pick. I mean, it's a solid pick. He's a massive human being. Didn't really contribute until his 5th year at South Carolina. So, a bit finicky on that one. I think he's going to have an opportunity in order to become like a DK Metcalf kind of guy. But personally, I thought Trey Benson would really fit your lineup. But overall, solid draft. Can't really complain too much. Can have an opportunity in order for them to contribute, maybe give you a shot.
Yeah. Neighbors at 103, that's the pick there. He's a beast. We all know I don't like Daniel Jones. We don't have to harp on that too much. But that team, that quarterback is not great. And so maybe it's just kind of what we got with Saquon for years and what I like to call the Michael Carter-Williams effect of he's going to get 15, 20 targets. He's the only guy on a terrible offense, so he's going to put up numbers. And that makes sense. We saw it with D-Hop early in his career when it was like T.J. Yates and he's putting up 1,500 yards. Like, that's something we could definitely see. But time will tell and see how that offense shakes out. I don't love it. Hopefully you get Tommy Cutlett stepping up and, you know, I don't when you start to get some points for you. Xavier Legette's an interesting pick. Super talented dude. Just stepping into a weird offense. It's another receiver room where his target's coming from. And he could very easily step into that role. But they paid a whole bunch of money to Deontay Johnson. That's a guy who's going to demand 100-plus targets in a season. They still have Adam Thielen, who Bryce Young really liked last year. Say what you want about how old he is. He was getting targets. They drafted Mingo last year, who's now second year in the NFL. They still got a couple other guys on that offense. For him, it's really, can he carve out a role? Will Bryce Young actually be able to throw the ball this year and not be running around like an asshole? And like, will Bryce Young step up and will that offensive line hold up? And that could definitely work out for you, but again, another time we'll see pick. But Neighbors was the pick. He's best player available. Like it, probably the best player available. Trey Benson would have been a solid pick for you there, but you made your trade for a running back, so you're solid.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like Neighbors kind of just like fell into my lap. Wasn't really much decision there. And also, even if DJ doesn't, I mean, he's probably going to end up sucking, but like, it's temporary. They can have a new quarterback next year.
You got him for a year.
So you never know. Like, it's 1 year I got to suck up, and he can still be kind of gassed this year. And then, again, honestly, my biggest concern with him, honestly, I know it's been brought up, is that he does have that ankle injury that's been kind of like teetering around. There's a lot of reports that he's kind of like dropping down the wide receiver rankings just out of lack of availability weight. So, I mean, something.
He's a rookie. He'll have opportunity.
Yeah, I know. It's something to keep an eye on, though. I mean, I don't like getting started off on the wrong foot, so.
All right, I think it's time to move on to the next team.
Here we got Eugene, a draft I don't think a lot of us were big fans of. He ended up trading up to the 104 from the 107, I believe, in order to take Brian Thomas Jr. And then he took Troy Franklin at the back of the second round. I personally didn't feel like he needed to trade up for Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think a lot of people had him as high as Eugene did. And I hate Troy Franklin. He's probably going to have a good connection just because Bo Nix was his college quarterback and he's moving into that system. But falling down to the fourth round is not a good sign. Shocking, I know. I just did not like him as a catcher. He didn't go out and get it with his hands. He let the ball fall into his lap all the time. Didn't really have a ton of explosiveness that I was expecting. Brian Thomas Jr., I think, will carve out a role on the Jags. I just don't know how large the role it'll be. Troy Franklin does stink.
Yes.
Quote me on that.
Yeah, look at it.
Yeah, I mean.
Go ahead, Blackman.
Oh, you didn't? All right. Yeah, I mean, basically, kind of what Bev said here. I personally think that Eugene should have just taken advantage, taken Brock Bowers, got rid of Njoku. I think that's a way better fit for his team. I think he can, if he needed to, trade it for receivers during the season or kind of rebuilt in different ways. I don't think necessarily trading up was really the move here. That's my opinion. Troy Franklin, I don't really like him either. It's fine. Like, he did what he had to do. Like, it's not the worst, but, like.
Yeah, man. Eugene's offseason has been questionable to me at best. He's out here acting like he's a 5-star Georgia recruit. He's trading up for a guy that I don't think is going to be a good player. Brian Thomas Jr. That was not the right move for him. He was in talks to trade that 107 as part of a package with me for Devontae Adams, and I ran through the draft with him, and he was convinced Brian Thomas wasn't going to fall to him. And just kind of looking at how our draft board fell out, not only do I think Brian Thomas would have fell to him if he didn't take him, I think he took him over 3, 4, 5, 6 players who are going to be better than him. And so not only did you give up a second-round pick who became Drake May, you took the worst guy out of the next few picks. Brock Bowers would have been a better pick. Xavier Worthy's probably a better pick. He traded away Ladd McConkey, who I think is going to be the steal of the draft. And you traded away a pick that became Drake May, and you were a quarterback away from winning the title. So here you are with, at best, the fourth option in the Jaguars' offense. Christian Kirk's going to get more touches than him. Evan Ingram's going to get more touches than him. Etienne's going to get the ball before him. So at best, going into the season, you're the fourth best offensive player on that team. We all know that Doug Peterson's offense runs through the middle. All those years with Zach Ertz, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, eating up the middle. He's a secondary option. You saw with Calvin Ridley last year, who was so streaky. And if he's a B-tier, C-tier version of what Calvin Ridley was last year, you're not having a good time. So I don't like the pick.
I noticed you didn't mention Gabe Davis in that Jags offense.
Yeah, man. The Gabe Davis experience is an interesting one. And then there are going to be Gabe Davis games. Y'all know that. Once a month, he's going to catch an 80-yard touchdown, and it's going to be awesome. But until that happens, there is some opportunity for Brian Thomas there. And then Troy Franklin, he's a super talented guy. He's got some opportunity in that Broncos offense. He's got some speed. Maybe he becomes something, but I think it was probably the best player available at the 211. If he doesn't work out at the 211, so be it.
Anything else we got to say here?
No.
Moving on to 105, we got Jack Mostow.
Here we go.
I gave him a B overall. he took Brock Bowers, pretty fitting, I think.
love me, faggot.
And in the second, he took Adonai Mitchell. Overall, Brock Bowers, I mean, it's pretty obvious that Bowers is a baller. I think he's going to be stuck in the timeshare, at least for a limited time being, maybe his rookie or anything.
I'm gonna come.
I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to help him compete this year. I think Adonai Mitchell might be good. I'm a fan of the Colts offense, but he's going to be a boomer bust guy. And overall, Moscow just needs a lot. I mean, like, he could have gone a lot of different directions here. And I kind of feel like this isn't going to help him win. Maybe in the future, Bowers will help him out. But his team is just weird.
Yeah,
man.
That's the thing. I don't even hate the Bowers pick so much. I mean, I just think it's kind of hard to even say like what he should have done because he just has so many trades that he needs to make on his team in order to get younger players so that way he can compete in the future. Basically where his team's at, no matter who he would have taken, he could have had Marvin Harrison on his team. I still don't think he would finish in the top 6. So I don't know. I think he just needs to get rid of the old guys, pawn them off, take the first round picks that I've offered you, that Bev has offered you, that I'm sure a bunch of other people have offered you, and kind of go from there. And I think honestly, the smartest thing you can do during the season is to do that. And when someone gets hurt, go after those top runners, get their first round picks, and go back from there. So I mean, I don't really have comments on his picks. I mean, I think they're fine. I just don't really think for the time being with this current state of his team that they're really relevant. I mean, I think Brock Bowers is going to be a dog in 3 years, 2-3 years probably, but he's got to make the other adjustments too if he wants to succeed. It's not just going to fall into his lap.
Brock Bowers has the potential to be the next Travis Kelce. He could be the wide receiver or the tight end 1 in fantasy for the next decade. He's that good. He is the best tight end coming out of college that I've ever seen. That dude is insane. And we all know I'm a homer. I know I'm a Georgia fan. But that dude is nuts. And I'm not worried about Michael Mayer. I wasn't worried about Michael Mayer when he was in college. I'm not worried about Michael Mayer now. That's not my concern here. My concern with Mostow is this could be a guy who could be a piece for you moving forward. But just looking at the rest of his team, it's a confusing pick because his team is... my dynasty brain hurts looking at it. Maybe in a redraft team this year, he might be okay. Joe Mixon, Kamara, and not long-term pieces. They both combined might have 3 seasons left. The only 2 guys he's got on his team who are really worth something long-term are Pacheco and Ayuk. And you don't even know what's going to happen with Ayuk. He could end up on the Browns and his career is over. And so it's you don't really know what's going on there. He's got a lot of issues. Obviously, he's tough to deal with. Brock Bowers is the right pick there. I think he, outside of Marvin Harrison, is the most sure thing in this draft. A.D. Mitchell, who cares? He's the wide receiver 2 on the Colts. We all know how I feel about Anthony Richardson. I think that dude is going to be a scrub. He's praying for Joe Flacco to step in there and sling the rock. I think that's A.D. Mitchell's only shot in the foreseeable future to be fantasy relevant. Up until then, he's 600, 800 yards and a few touchdowns. He might have a boom week here or there, but Mosso's got a lot of holes he's got to fill, and his team's just getting older, and we're just watching it die before our eyes. And that crown he holds on to so dearly of most wins all time in the league is very soon going to be gone.
Second most.
Does he only have? Is he second most now?
I think it's second. Yeah, it's second most.
He likes to throw that around, so maybe I'm spewing fake news here. Which thank you guys for correcting me. It's why I have you here. But he does like to throw that around, and that is not going to be around for very much longer with his current roster construction, his plan of stringing people along and not actually making a trade.
Yeah, I think Tim and Joe are right. We're pretty close to him. I think they're single-digit wins off.
Special plays, special players.
Definitely a simpleton over there.
Hold on.
Moving on here.
It's the diabetes. Just holds him back.
107, we had Jimmy, who took Ladd McConkey into Ricky Pearsall, into Drake May, into Javon Baker. Personally, I'm just not a Ladd McConkey guy. I know a lot of people are just based off of the offense and the quarterback, and he went to Georgia. I just didn't like his production. I didn't love his tape like everybody else did. I just wasn't a huge fan. Ricky Pearsall, I think, is probably a solid pick. I mean, considering he's a first-round receiver and he took him in the second. I think the Niners offense just kind of works like that, where it's going to end up figuring itself out. Didn't love Drake May. He's not going to be good on the Patriots for 2 years, I don't think. After that, maybe. But it's nice to have that stack between him and Javon Baker, even if Javon Baker is kind of just another dart throw in their wide receiver room. Overall, it was pretty competent, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ladd McConkey. Me and Dino have talked about this. I think he might be the steal of the draft behind Harrison and Neighbors. I think he will be the third best receiver in the draft. Easy. But, yeah, so I actually personally love that pick. I think it was awesome the way that he got him. Like, I think he should have gone sooner with Eugene, but teach his own. Pearsall, I think it's tough. Even if Ayuk does move, I mean, McCaffrey's going to get 20-plus carries a game. Then you have Debo, who's going to demand at least 10-plus targets. So it's just, there's Ayuk. He's not Ayuk. So, like, Ayuk, yeah, sure. Ayuk was good enough to demand enough targets, like, right behind him at 3. But, like, I don't think Pearsall's going to get enough touches to really make it worthwhile, at least for the time being. You never know in the long run, though. I don't think he's bad. I don't hate him. Drake May, I think, like Bev said, it's going to be a couple of years. And Jackson is just kind of going to be a throw at the dartboard. Like, you got a couple, whatever. Could work out, could not, whatever. Like,
yeah, I think Jimmy, I think a C-plus grade for Jimmy is definitely low. I thought he had the second best draft behind Sam. Just purely, as much as I didn't like the rest of his picks outside of Ladd McConkey, he made the move of the draft by trading back 3 picks and picking up a second round and still drafting the better player. He traded away Brian Thomas for what became Ladd McConkey and Drake May. Say what you want about Drake May. I don't know how good he's really going to be, but he took the better receiver and picked him up. That move in and of itself moves him up my rankings. Like Bachman said, I think Ladd McConkey's the steal of this draft. I tried getting him and tried drafting him. Deals didn't work out. Looking at that Chargers offense is part of the reason why I liked Quentin Johnston last year, and we all know how well that pick went for me. But there's opportunity in that offense. He has the opportunity to get 100-plus targets this year. There's nobody else there that Justin Herbert's really going to be able to throw the ball to. Ladd McConkey is the reincarnation of essentially what Wes Welker was. And if he can come in and eat up in the slot and run routes, he didn't really produce his senior year, but he was hurt. And junior year, he would have put up better stats, but he didn't play in the second half because Georgia blows everybody out. If you look at, if they had per minute stats like they do in the NBA, or the per 36 like they do in the NBA, Ladd McConkey would be off the charts. Just purely based on when he was on the field because they weren't blowing people out. He's a beast. And if he can just eat up in the middle and get the targets that he deserves, there's already rumors coming out that he's running away with the wide receiver 1 there. I think he's gonna be the best receiver this season that isn't named Marvin Harrison Jr. out of this draft. Ricky Pearsall, not a guy that I liked. Again, maybe being a Georgia homer. He went to Florida. I hate Florida. They were a bad team. He was never a 1,000-yard receiver in college. So they were in negative passing down situations. They were throwing the ball all the time, and he was never a 1,000-yard receiver. He never put it together. And I don't know if he's going to really be able to do in the NFL. I also don't like the Niners, but, fantasy players in the Niners go crazy. So if they lose Ayuk to a trade or this or that, he could very well step up into that wide receiver 2 role. Debo gets hurt. He's now the wide receiver 1. There's definitely a path there. Jimmy's putting himself together a pretty solid receiving room. He's still got CeeDee Lamb. He hit on Puka Nacua last year. And now he's got Ladd McConkey. He's got Addison. We're going to see what happens there with his mishaps. But yeah, and then Javon Baker, it's another one of those guys who's just a wide receiver 3 on the Patriots. Maybe he hits, maybe he doesn't. Everybody on that team is just meh until further notice.
Circling back to the Chargers really quick, did you guys know that Quentin Johnston is currently not practicing with the ones? He's currently practicing with the second team.
That does not surprise me. Talking about basketball and mentioned the Michael Carter Williams effect. This dude is just Markelle Fultz, man. Got all the talent in the world. Came in, forgot how to fucking shoot.
Forgot how to play.
Forgot how to catch. Get separation, can run like the wind, but just can't catch that fucking football, man. I can't predict that. I can't predict the dude forgetting how to catch a football. Receiver his entire life. Just bring back Stickum 2024. That might be my team name this year. Bring back Stickum.
Jesus.
Moving on. Up next, we got Carrier picking at the 112. He took Trey Benson, which was honestly a very solid pick, considering he also has James Conner. Get the handcuff to that. Trey Benson was one of my favorite running backs in this draft. Also took Ray Davis in the end of the second. I gave him a C- because I really wanted Trey Benson, so kind of fuck you, Carrier. What the hell? I don't think he was following to me, but like real nice. I didn't like the Ray Davis pick. I understand he needs running backs, and that's kind of what he's going for, the build. Ray Davis is 25, which is pretty absurd for a running back coming out of the draft. I don't think there's going to be a ton of opportunities behind James Cook and whoever the else they got there. Ty Johnson, I believe. I just really am not a Ray Davis believer. Overall, it was fine. He addressed what his needs were, which is keep rebuilding his running back room.
Yeah, it's a good, very well said, Bev. I mean, honestly, Trey Benson was honestly the perfect pick for him. You have the handcuff for Connor. Benson could honestly become the starting running back for all you know. So
that I think is the path for Carrier, at least in his RB room. He needs to pick up somebody else there. Maybe Jerome Ford becomes relevant again this year with Nick Chubb, barely having a knee held together with duct tape. But Trey Benson was the pick here. He's got James Conner already, and James Conner, I don't think has ever in his career played 16 or 17 games. So
he's never has.
I mean,
he's going to go.
Be fair, James Conner did win Carrier the championship.
Yes.
He went like wild in the championship.
Do not get me wrong.
Yes.
James Conner
has never played a full season.
Yeah.
But still,
he's going to go down at some point. And if he goes down again this year, and Trey Benson comes in and balls, Trey Benson's not giving up that job again. Then and there you go, Carrier. There's your second running back next to Breece Hall, and you're good. The only concern there is they will end up cannibalizing each other at some point, and neither are startable. But even if that happens,
Carrier has started 2 running backs from the same team before.
Carrier's done some interesting things at running back over the years, man.
And the rest of his team is good enough to make up for it. So.
I guess.
Yeah, he refuses to trade for a running back, man. He's got all the young receivers in the world, but
Mostow, take notes.
He's still rostering Leonard Fournette. So like,
really?
Yeah, he's rostering Leonard Fournette, Nyheim Hines, and Pierre Strong.
Yo, this is Pierre Strong's year, man. Come on.
Nyheim Hines, I'm pretty sure missed the entirety of last year, and like has not been relevant in years. I can't tell you the last time.
Man. Does he still have Easton Stick? Yeah.
Let's go.
Dude, Mac Jones coming back, man.
and Ray Davis, he's the handcuff to James Cook. If he goes down, I think Ty Johnson gets the job. As someone who rosters Ty Johnson, he is the future of the Bills' backfield. It's fine. It's the 212. You're shooting darts at that point at the end of the draft. If he hits,
maybe you are.
I mean, we'll see, man. We all know you like your third-round picks, Bev.
Hey, Dino has the only relevant third-round pick in this league. Really.
That's not true. Isaiah Pacheco was a third-round pick.
He was. Oh fuck.
Jayden Reed was a third-round pick.
Jayden Reed was a third-round pick.
Was he?
Yep.
Yes.
And at this point, I wouldn't call Khalil Herbert relevant anymore. He had his time in the sun. Yeah. He's got to get traded to be relevant again. He's got DeAndre Swift and Rashad Johnson ahead of him, even though my team's terrible and he's in my starting lineup right now. He ain't doing much.
Speaking of your starting lineup, Dino,
moving
on to your pick.
Oh, Roman Wilson, baby.
At the 201, Dino took Roman Wilson out of Michigan. And with C+, I kind of felt like it was a reach here. Realistically, there's no real purpose of dropping back in the draft if this is the kind of guy you want. So it makes sense to stick and pick. But he just didn't go to an SEC school, so I kind of think he's a scrub. Also, Michigan didn't throw him the ball. Kind of weird, don't you think?
Michigan didn't throw the ball to anybody. KJ McCarthy can't throw the ball. That is his only flaw as a quarterback. Is he will win you games right up until you need him to throw the football. Then he crumbles under pressure. But if he can hand the ball off to Blake Corum and all the running backs under the sun, he is going to have a good time.
Mm.
But we're just talking about this pick here, just kind of looking at my roster. There was a bunch of guys I threw up here. I already said how I wasn't really annulled with Ricky Pearsall and A.D. Mitchell, all the guys after him. And the Jalen Polk is the other guy I considered here. I wanted Blake Corum. I wanted to do it, but he doesn't help me on my rebuild timeline. I knew I was blowing my team up at some point. And maybe he hits, maybe he doesn't. He's fighting for carries. I look at Roman Wilson, super talented guy, and the Steelers like him. And the Steelers just hit on receivers over and over.
It was like just
over and over again.
That's insane.
And so
yeah, honestly,
I also think that George Pickens is going to get in his own way. And if he picks back up that Deontay Johnson role, I'm a happy camper. And Justin Fields steps in. He becomes a guy. This is a guy I like. I don't love him. I think he can become solid. And at the 201, looking at my team that I have, if he can become a solid wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1, the peak of his career, I'm happy with that pick because everybody after him I didn't like. I thought this was a very top-heavy draft. And sitting at 201.
Honestly, I think you picked the best player available. Like, you did the best with what you were given. Yes. There really wasn't much else, like, available. And honestly, like, the Steelers, like you said, they're always hot. They never miss. So, you never know, man.
Look,
you never know.
They know something that I don't. And I tried getting some first-round picks this year. The trades just didn't work out. We all know the trades that I already made. We'll talk about them in a bit. But this was the best player available, helps me the most long-term, and I thought he was the most talented guy on the board with the most potential. That's really what I look for.
Yeah.
Sticking with Michigan players, we're moving on to Connor's pick of Blake Corum.
How does he have one pick?
Because he traded him away in his terrible trade. He starts getting picks again next year, man. The rebuild the 5-year rebuild that should have started 4 years ago starts now for Connor. Starts now.
I'm kind of torn on this because, like, I feel like Blake Corum's a great player and everything. I don't think Connor should address his team by going through running backs, but, I mean, he did it with James Cook, and James Cook ended up working out pretty well. I'm not a big Blake Corum guy. I think LA was a pretty good opportunity with him just because they kind of end up running one running back into the ground and then replace him with the next one. So I kind of think Kyron's time is on the clock eventually. He'll get his opportunity this year, but I think Blake Corum could be next up. Blake Corum has had a weird injury history, so that's kind of something to keep a red flag on. But, I mean, can't argue with that production, right? At the end of the day, he was kind of just a dog for them, and they gave him the ball, and he turned it into yards.
I thought he was going to be the best running back in this draft. It was just more the team he went to that kind of had him slide than anything. I think if he ended up on the Panthers instead of Jonathan Brooks, we'd probably be talking about Blake Corum being a first overall pick instead of him. I think also if he ended up in the Cardinals, but Kieran Williams is still young. He was a dog last year, so it's like I'm already saying he's only his backup. Maybe he earned some carries at some point, but they don't give opportunities to their backups. You had just said it. So yeah. I thought he was I thought he was the most talented running back in this class with the least amount of opportunity out of those two guys that I mentioned. Connor's got a million holes to fill. He needs every position that's not quarterback. So take Blake Corum. If he hits for you, great. If he doesn't, you didn't miss on. I don't think you missed on much.
Like, what pick did you take him at again?
202.
How wait, was it 202? Okay. Yeah, so like there really wasn't like much on it. It's not like you missed someone that could have actually been useful really long term for him, I think, honestly. Like do what happens, like you could have a major injury, you never fucking know. So
he's gotta hit on his picks the next few years though. He's gotta start making something happen. If he has the 101 next year or the 102, he has to think about trading back and just collecting assets.
Just accumulating picks.
There's going to be some...
Just get a lot of players.
There's going to be some high-end guys going into next year's draft. If he trades out of the 102, gets 2-3 first-round picks, 2 first and a second, you know what I mean? That's a good deal.
You should also cut Kyle Juszczyk.
Nah, man, Kyle Juszczyk's a character guy for him.
Nah. He's good for the vibe.
He also has Brock Purdy, so he needs him to help block.
Make sure C.J. Stroud doesn't get killed.
He really just built his team from the trenches. Unfortunately, though, we lost Rondell Moore for the year today, which is a tough loss for him.
Yeah, already. That was brutal.
Yeah, man. He traded A.J. Brown for Rondell Moore. That's a real tough loss for him.
Stop. We don't talk about that anymore.
Moving on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Anyway, my turn. I had a ton of picks that were mainly in the second and the third. I had a very specific strategy, and I got pretty much every single person I was looking for. I ended up taking 2 QBs in this draft, just kind of square it up, because at the time my only backup was Kenny Pickett. So I ended up getting Jaden Daniels, Malachi Corley, Jermaine Burton, Bucky Irving, Isaac Garendo, and Bo Nix. Is everybody I wanted? Jaden Daniels is going to be a solid backup. He's a mobile quarterback, went to DC, can have a starting opportunity. Solid. Malachi Corley, he's fucking sick once he gets the balls. He went to the Jets, kind of sucks, but he is amazing to watch in the open space. He was my favorite tape to watch. I mean, like, if you want to watch highlight tapes, watch up Malachi Corley. Jermaine Burton, I kind of thought he was going to have opportunity with T. Higgins eventually moving on. He went to Bama. He had, I think, the longest yards per catch in the SEC, which was pretty good. He's a good deep ball guy. I think he's going to help stretch their offense out. Bucky Irving, I kind of just think that Rashad White is trash, so I took him back up. Isaac Garendo, I just really liked this guy. He's like 250. He ran the fastest 40 in the out of the running backs, so he's quick. He's got that. And then Bo Nix was just there. I don't like Bo Nix, but he's gonna have a starting opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at your draft, Jaden Daniels got some opportunity there. Malachi Corley got some opportunity there, but buried on the Jets depth chart. He's probably gonna really see his time in the sun after Aaron Rodgers leaves. So what are they gonna look like then? Jermaine Burton's a guy that I hate, but that's mostly because he transferred out of Georgia to Alabama. What a pussy. Bucky Irving, Bachman's boy, Rashad White. It's his backup now. Bo Nix, maybe he works out over there. But frankly, Bev, the guy who is not talked about here that you picked up, that I think was your best pick, that wasn't Jalen Daniels, Spencer Knott. And I couldn't believe he went undrafted, and you just beat me out on Fab. And he's a guy who, maybe not this year behind Zach Ertz, but in a year or two in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, really can earn himself a role. I think he's super talented. I couldn't believe he went undrafted. And if I had a third-round pick, that would have been the only guy in the third round that I'd have taken, except for maybe Kimi Vidal. But yeah. That's a guy that I really like, and you snagged him right from under my nose.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. You outbid me for him, so fuck you. Anyway.
Phoenix.
Okay. Honestly, Bev, I liked your draft. I mean, it's pretty much like, I think you had a lot of pretty I don't want to say mid, and they're better than mid, but I think they're all pretty standard upper mid guys that could turn into pretty decent players. So overall, no really complaints here. I think a B's fair.
Moving on, we got Joseph Meatball Trupia. He took Jalen Wright at the back of the second, J.J. McCarthy's top of the third, Jalen McMillan, and Braylon Allen. I give him a C- just because these aren't really value picks. I feel like Jalen Wright is pretty buried on that one. We'll see what happens with Raheem Mostert. J.J. McCarthy's solid, I guess. He's going to have a starting opportunity, but I kind of just hate J.J., man. I don't think he's that good. Jalen McMillan, I thought, was a solid value. He's going to have a starting opportunity for the Bucs at their wide receiver 3. Not that has much value, but I mean, he's going to get on the field. He's going to get reps.
Baker's
That's value. Braylon Allen, I really liked Braylon Allen, but I mean, he fell to the Jets. I don't think that's a great opportunity for him.
Here we go!
Yeah, you and Meatball essentially had 3/4 of the third round, so all your guys were just whatever, you know what I mean? Jalen Wright, running back 3 on the Dolphins, he's not going to contribute this year. You got Braylon Allen, he's not going to be a huge piece this year. We already mentioned how I think J.J. McCarthy's only real value is handing the football off. Braylon Allen's cool because he's a big motherfucker, but outside of that,
he's a train.
This draft is just man. Jalen McMillan, he's an okay player. He might carve out a role in the slot there. A lot of training camp hype out of him, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, Braylon Allen, shitty landing spot. Not really much else to say about that. I actually kind of like JJ. I also think it's really easy to throw to Justin Jefferson because he just gets so much separation from everyone. So,
he's not even going to be their starter, though. Sam Darnold's going to be their starter, so.
I don't know.
McCarthy was definitely a value considering he's a third-round pick and he's going to have a starting opportunity.
Yeah. Look, if he hits, you took him in the third round, and it's great. If he doesn't hit, who cares? It was a third-round pick, and that's like this for all these guys. It's like I'm nitpicking here.
Yeah.
On third-round picks, it's Jalen McMillan probably his best pick. Jalen Wright's again super fast, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I believe we only have one left here. Timothy Gallucci for a guy he traded. Kamani Vidal. I give him a D just because he's fine. I did not like Kamani Vidal coming out of the draft. But he's with the Chargers, so maybe he gets an opportunity. I mean, that's a pretty crowded running back room. I don't know what they didn't pay J.K. Dobbins at all, but I think Gus Edwards is pretty much going to have all their opportunity. So I don't think it's really going to go anywhere.
Kamani Vidal is a guy I love personally. He was a beast at Troy, a beast. Senior year, almost 1,700 rushing yards, absolute unit. He was that whole offense, and on top of that. Just looking at the Chargers, man, that whole offense is wide open. And J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both can't stay healthy at all. This is an offense with Jim Harbaugh coming in who wants to run the ball. And
Greg
Roman wants to run the ball. And you're going to have some opportunity there. I don't know if it's going to be right away, but J.K. Dobbins isn't going to be healthy. Gus Edwards, he's a goal line vulture, that's for sure, but also can't stay healthy. Another year older. I think he's almost 30 now. So there's some opportunity in this offense. If he doesn't hit, 307. Super talented guy who has the opportunity to have a ton of opportunity just with the backfield in front of him. So it could end up working out for him. But, Jarrett Patterson's also getting an opportunity in that backfield too, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's extremely injury dependent here. Like, if Dobbins goes down, which he probably,
best abilities, availability.
It's definitely going to happen, so
all those guys
you never really know.
Best abilities, availability. All the guys in front of him are consistently hurt their whole career.
My back! Oh, my back!
That's the end of our draft.
And that wraps it up, right?
Moving on to trade time.
Oh.
First trade that broke. I believe this was on July 4th. We had
big 4th of July
between the two of you.
Yeah.
Rachaad White and Aaron Rodgers for 2025 first and the 2026 and 2027 seconds. I thought this was a high price to pay for Rachaad White. Because I kind of think he's trash.
Aaron Rodgers, let's calm down.
All right, man.
Talking Aaron Rodgers out here. Look, Bachman, I don't know if you want to touch on this first, just from your perspective.
Yeah, I can talk first. So, essentially, I think kind of the name of the game here was, to lay some context, there was a lot of trade talks going around where Dino was going to give Tim all the players. I really needed a running back to go with. So I know I overpaid. I'm not fucking stupid. I'm fully aware. But, honestly, in the long run, I'm okay with it. I think Rachaad White is kind of at the peak of his career right now. I think he's got, I would say, probably 3 good years left. I'm happy with that.
It's at the peak. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. But honestly, yeah. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I think he'll be good for at least another 2-3 years. I can pretty much get my picks back if I need to. I have enough old talent on my team that I can kind of get rid of Lockett. I can make some moves and get some players back if I really need to. But I like how my team's structuring out right now with the Zamir White, Rachaad White little combo going on. And honestly, I had Geno Smith as my backup quarterback, and I love Geno as much as the next guy. He's the biggest fan. I need someone that's a little bit more consistent when Lamar inevitably misses a game because he's just a moron and hurts himself.
Let's hope you get more than a handful of snaps out of Aaron Rodgers this year.
Amen.
This was the first domino to fall in me selling my team. I was very patient with it all offseason, knowing I didn't have my pick in this upcoming draft. And I really kind of needed to start my rebuild. I looked at my team. All the guys that I had were all question marks, and I needed all the question marks to hit to potentially be a contender. And every year over the last few years, I made some bad moves to try to keep myself relevant, and we kind of hit a point where I wasn't going to be a contender anymore, and I had to accept it. Rashad White is a guy that I did like, but a first and 2 seconds for a dude who wasn't a 1,000-yard rusher last year as much as he gets all those targets. It's a weird offense. They're going to be pass first. I don't see his relevancy period matching up with when I'm a contender. So it was a really easy move for me to make. A lot of deals floating around with a lot of different people. Bachman came in with the best deal. We had talked about this for a while. And he might see it as an overpay. I thought it was fair value for a 24, 25-year-old running back who was a top 10 back last year. Top 10 back is worth the first in 2 seconds. I don't care if you shake your head. I don't care what you think. He was a top 10 back, and that is worth what he paid. And I was going to get it from somebody, so.
And as a little prelude to the next line, I don't think I overpaid as much as the next person overpaid.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Speaking of the next line, we have Nap's little trade deal here. We got Kenneth Walker and a 2026 second for 2 firsts, 2025 and 2026, and a 2025 second in there as well. So pick swap in the second for Kenneth Walker for 2 firsts, man. Dude, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. But again, this is a guy that I really liked, and I gave up a lot for last offseason. I traded a first in Hollywood for Kenneth Walker last year to Sam. Or a first in Hollywood for Kenneth Walker. That was how that trade went down. And again, this is a guy who didn't really fit my timeline. Had to go if I really wanted to be a rebuild. Moved up a year in the second round. Got 2 firsts. And it really just kind of leans into my whole thing. I'm rebuilding. This had to happen. Knapp got his running back. And he's got picks to spend, so it's okay. Worked out for both sides. And I was also just trying to trade with anybody that wasn't named Tim. He's the only dude who ever trades in this league, and it's frankly exhausting. So it was nice to get a couple deals done and give a couple guys away that didn't go to Tim, which was nice.
This is the 3rd trade Kenneth Walker has been in. He has not played 3 seasons.
No.
This is ridiculous.
It's kind of nuts.
Nobody wants this guy, man.
I mean, they also just drafted Zach Charbonnet.
Charbonnet time, I was just about to say.
I think the Kenneth Walker's the guy there. I'm a big Kenneth Walker believer, but if he splits that backfield, he's not a top 10 back, and I'll take 2 first-round picks over a dude in a committee any day.
I was kind of just expecting more out of him from college.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He hasn't had that. He's got that high-end talent, but he hasn't had that high-end production, and so I'm cool with passing on it. I'll take the picks.
You sent me something similar to this offer, and I was like, "There's no shot. I'm giving you 2 firsts, man."
Yeah, I was working it in the league. Everybody probably got an offer from me somewhere.
The crazier part about that deal was that Dino didn't even offer it to Knapp. Knapp made the offer to Dino.
I had some stuff floating around, and he sent this to me, and I'm sitting on the couch right after I made the deal with Bachman, and I'm like, I got sticker shocked. I thought I was missing something. I almost didn't accept it at first, and just because I was shocked that I got it. It was like pulling teeth to get these trades done, man. This was shopping around for months, but I finally got my deals.
Moving on to our final trade here. We have another one with Dino. Shocking. So Dino receives 2025 first, 2026 first, 2027 first, and 2027 second, plus some of these other players, Devontae Walker, Kamani Goodall, and KJ Osborne, for Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, and Hunter Henry. I really think this was an overpay from Tim, so I'll take it. I don't think Devontae Adams still has the same juice. I don't think the Raiders' offense is going to operate they want it to. AOC is currently winning that quarterback battle, which is wild to me. Calvin Ridley didn't really seem like he had it still. I think he will still have an opportunity in order to prove himself. I don't think he's fully cooked, but I don't believe in Will Levis. Cortland Sutton I still like, and Hunter Henry Tim still likes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it completes Tim's team pretty well, so I think he accomplished that goal. I mean, I think he pretty much filled all of his holes. He has a steady arsenal of backups now in case any injuries come through, so I think that's good for him. I mean, in terms of what he gave up, I mean, I know I don't really have all that much room to talk, but I feel like that's a lot. All things considered, it's tough. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you, Dino. I think you set yourself up really well, but
Me and Tim went back and forth for the better part of 2 years about a Davante Adams trade. I had another deal on the table with Eugene. It was 2 firsts and Troy Franklin for Davante Adams. He ended up, that trade ended up falling through. And Tim just kind of took a lot of my slop here. And these were all guys who I had believed in for a while and had done some good things for me, but they were at points in their career where I didn't know if they were going to help me anymore. Davante Adams is on the wrong side of 30. Question mark QB. He went to the Raiders because he was with his boy Derek Carr, and now he's gone. Calvin Ridley, he missed a year for gambling. Last year, I think he was a top 15, top 20 receiver, but he did it all in like 3 games. Courtland Sutton, I don't think he's passed 800 yards in the last 5 years, and he was only relevant last year because he had 12 touchdowns or something like that. And Hunter Henry I just threw in there because, Tim rubs one out at Hunter Henry. So, like, we're good there.
I don't think Bo Nix is going to do Courtland Sutton in the Steelers.
And it's like I got 3 firsts. I wanted 2 firsts for Adams. I wanted 2 firsts and stuff for Adams. I got that. I wanted a first for Calvin Ridley. I got that. I wanted a second for Courtland Sutton. I got that. And then I got all the other guys. Like Delonte Walker might be something. I really like Kimi Vidal. I already talked about KJ Osborne. We're receiver 1 on the Pats. So we're there. All right, guys. Hold on.
I got one last slide. Timmy receives Don Kincaid and Will Levis. And then Mike Knapp receives Dak Prescott and Hayden Hurst. I personally felt like this was unnecessary if he just drafted Caleb. He wouldn't have needed Dak trade and could have kept Dalton Kincaid, had a solid young tight end in order to keep his team young instead of like trying to find a new solution for this next year. I didn't like it from Knapp's ends.
Michael?
yeah. I think the biggest problem is, so Knapp got a good quarterback, right? But we all know he's always going to play the wrong one.
True.
So it's a tough get for him, honestly, because Dak's great, but like, is he still going to continue his trend, or is he going to move on? Is it a new year, new trends? We'll see.
Like here goes Timmy making another trade. This helped them both out, I guess. Like they swapped tight ends and quarterbacks. Tim got younger at quarterback. Dak got a solid quarterback, or Knapp got a solid quarterback in Dak, at least fantasy wise. Hayden Hurst is whatever, but he stacked a tight end. And how much longer does Travis Kelce have? And even though he has Hunter Henry now, Tim wanted another tight end. Dalton Kincaid can be solid. That backfills him there. I think it worked out for both sides. I think this was probably just looking at it, quarterback and a tight end for a quarterback and a tight end. Value-wise, it's very similar. I think Dalton Kincaid is probably the best fantasy asset in this trade, but this makes Knapp better now. So, and he's got T.J. Hawkinson and the dude Trey McBride. So he didn't need Dalton Kincaid. He was okay there. Needed Dak. Didn't need Dalton Kincaid. Worked out for both sides.
One more trade I wanted to bring up was from prior to the draft. It was between Eugene and Tim. It was how Eugene got Kyler. Eugene receives Kyler, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins, all for 2025 first, 2026 first, 2024 third, 2026 third. That's how Tim got first in order to trade away. I felt like this was an overpay personally. I know he needed a quarterback, add some wide receiver depth to his team, but it's a lot of firsts.
I actually will disagree, and I think Eugene won that particular trade. Bev, if you don't have a slide anymore, if you want to stop sharing.
I've got one more after this.
And so just kind of looking at that objectively, and the trade itself and the whole picture, Eugene needed the depth. His team was a little funky. He had a whole bunch of question marks, and this was actually, Tim sneaking in and doing what Tim does and being a snake and snaking away. That was actually a trade package that was supposed to come back for Davante Adams originally. It was supposed to be essentially what Tim ended up getting for the package that he got. And
it was just middleman.
I think Eugene did a little bit better in this trade than he did with my trade. And I think Tim got worse doing both those trades. I think DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams are very similar where they are and at this point in their career. I think the only thing with D-Hop is a little bit more of a solidified QB room. No matter how you feel about Will Levis. Chris Godwin, he's not a top 5 receiver anymore from where he was at his peak, but he was still a 1,000-yard receiver last year. He's got another year with Baker, so that could go better for him. And I don't hate it for Eugene. Don't hate it for Tim. He used the assets that he thinks was get better, but it's just Tim moving around pieces for the sake of moving around pieces again. This is what he does every single year, and he's going to end up losing the playoffs again.
Can't sit still.
Can't sit still. He's always answering. He's always moving pieces for the sake of moving pieces. And frankly, it's exhausting. And I'm bringing a call to the rest of the league. Stop.
Let's just veto all.
Stop trading with Tim. There are 12 people in this league. You could make a trade without him. It's okay. Stop trading with Tim. Please. It's exhausting.
Any comments, Bachman?
I mean, not really, honestly. I think it's pretty much we acknowledge Tim has more transactions than probably the rest of the league combined. Yeah, but honestly though, up until we made those trades with Dino, there were at least 5 to 6 people in this league who have probably made 2 or less trades throughout the entirety of its entire tenure. So it's tough. There really aren't as many people to trade with, especially when one of them is named Mostow and they won't accept good trades. But if okay,
here we go again.
Yeah, that's all I got though.
Bringing up my final slide, I just put a couple free agent slides together. Couple notable ones. I feel like I had a pretty good free agent pickup. I got Michael Penis Jr., Ben Sinnott. A lot of players just going around. Minshew got re-picked up. I thought Chico Okonkwo was crazy. I don't know why Knapp cut him, but you know what? I'll take it. I thought it was hilarious how Bachman decided to cut his former backup QB for Josh Johnson. What was the point of that?
Yeah, man.
Well, he was QB2 on the what's it called? The Ravens. He was Lamar's backup. Yeah, hey, bro, you can laugh. Am I gonna pull Eugene and not have a quarterback to play and lose the entire league? But that's the thing. If Geno got hurt, that was before I made the Rodgers trade. So if Geno got hurt, I was pretty much shit out of luck. So I need to have my.
And you got your boy Trey Tucker, Bachman, who you've been
I do.
trying to trade to me for months.
Trey Tucker is on the trade block for the rest of the league, just so you know.
Fuck you.
Yeah, man. My I lost some key pieces to my team this offseason, and it was tough. Losing the mailman Stenson Bennett for Deonta Foreman, and losing the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Trees. They were tough sacrifices. They did a lot for my team. They really built the culture up. And I think them being an influence to a lot of the younger guys on my team, like Cornelius Johnson and Jamari Thrash, I think it's really going to be big for them. Jamari Thrash is a guy I am really high on. There is a void there, wide receiver 2 for the Browns. And Jamari Thrash's daddy, James Thrash, was part of one of the most iconic Eagles receiving corps of all time. Him and Todd Pinkston created the iconic duo of Stinkston and Trash. And so maybe somebody's trash is another man's treasure.
Dino Charitos 2024, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, man. That's where my team's really falling down to. I'm hyping up a dude who I call Trash's son. Not even the OG Trash. I want Trash Jr. All right.
Todd Pinkston is currently the running back coach for the Chiefs.
Who is?
Todd Pinkston.
He's the running backs
I don't know
coach?
why, man. Yeah, he's a running back coach.
I know Greg Lewis has been a receiver coach floating around. He sucked. I hated Greg Lewis. What a bum.
Ton of mid receivers. Anyway,
Rapid.
overall, I think Sam had the best draft.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
Yeah.
I think Sam had the best one. I think Jimmy came in second. Everybody else just kind of there. You could put Knapp up there just because of all the value that he got. He just brought in a ton of guys. But I think in terms of draft position, what you did in the draft, Sam obviously 1. I think Jimmy 2, Knapp 3. I think rounds out your top 3. and just kind of looking ahead for the rest of the season as we kind of wrap this up. Looking at our league as a whole, obviously Carragher, our reigning champ. Who do we think can take him down? Who has a real shot at the title this year?
I mean, Tim always has the shot, right?
No,
he has the talent. I just always say this about Tim's team. He has a lot of very high caliber players that just choke every single time. They will have, like, the perfect example is Aaron Jones. He will put up a 45-point week, and then he'll end up being, like, running back, I don't know, like 9 or something. But then he'll have a dud week where he'll put up, like, 2.1. And then that'll be the week when Tim needs him to put up, like, 10 instead to win the week. So it's kind of one of those things where I just don't think, maybe it'll be different. He obviously, as he does every year, changed his team up a lot in his starting lineup. So maybe it'll be a little bit different. But from what I've seen, I think he probably has the best shot out of anyone to beat Carragher in terms of being able to score points. But yeah,
I think I've got 2 guys for you. Blacccchllalman, I think you're one. I'll give you your flowers here, including you rostering Zay Flowers. You have Jetta's back. You have White Power backfield. You got Debo, Neighbors, Zay Flowers. You got the high end opportunity. Lamar always has the opportunity to be wide receiver 1 every year. Bev, you got a shot. Knapp, he has a shot, but he doesn't have the higher end talent to really make a run. I don't think he needs some of those guys that he drafted this year and last year to hit. The one guy who I thought I'd be saying, the more I think about it and the more I look at his team, I don't think it's going to happen, he's Joe. Yeah. And there was a lot of talk last year of Joe flopping that little mighty power wiener out on the table there. But just looking at his roster, it's underwhelming for the names
he's getting older.
Jahmyr Gibbs is solid. Mark Andrews, solid, but he's got to stay healthy, and that's been his issue his whole career. Mike Evans is going to be solid. Josh Allen's going to be solid, but then Derrick Henry's another year older. Is he going to be as good on the Ravens when he's their second best running back behind Lamar? Drake London is a dude that he refused to trade it away when we were talking about the Adams deals, and much as I think Drake London can be a good player, he's probably the second target on that offense behind Kyle Pitts. He's never been a 1,000-yard receiver. Is he really going to get it done? Terry McLaurin? Are we really still talking about this guy? The definition of mid. And it's like, oh, but he's the tallest midget in the circus on the Redskins. He's actually a top 10 receiver. No, he's not.
He's incredibly mid. QB. Dude, last year was his time in order to break out with considering how many receiving yards they had overall, and then he kind of just didn't have that great of a season.
And then the last guy in the starting lineup is Ramondre Stevenson, who can be a good player, but that doesn't help you compete with Carragher. Looking at his bench, Gus Edwards, Tony Pollard. Cool. Like, you still have Treylon Burks on your roster. We still doing that? Cut him at this point, Joe. It is okay. Nobody's going to try to pick him up. It's cool, bro. Jackson Smith-Njigba, maybe he ends up working up. He's still a wide receiver 3 on the Seahawks. Like, for somebody who's claimed to flop his stick out on the table, I'm very underwhelmed with his team.
My pick is me. Shocking, I know.
I hate you.
I am shocked, Bev.
I know, right? But fuck, dude, I'm going for 5 years in a row for leading the league in points. Let's make it 5. Yeah.
Yeah, Bev.
I think my team is pretty solid overall. I think this is Jalen Warren's breakout season. Call me crazy. Arthur Smith just runs the goddamn ball, man.
Has run the ball.
He might be an idiot, but he runs the ball. I think my team overall is pretty just solid. I got a lot of depth, I think. Really re-upped in this draft. I think some of the rookies will break out later when I need them. And I think my starting lineup is good enough in order to go long enough to get a bye. Yeah. And then finally we'll show up in the playoffs.
I'd agree with that, Bev. I like your team. I think the only problem is you're one ACL tear away from complete destruction.
Yeah.
Your running back depth is just negative at this point.
And who the fuck is running back depth, man? Nobody.
I mean, to be fair, but if Jalen Warren is your solid number 2, that's kind of tough.
He's going to break out, dude. I'm telling you.
I think you're in a solid spot of you have high end talent. Tyreek.
Yeah, I mean,
DJ Moore.
If I've got Tyreek, I can't fit, right?
Jalen Hurts is going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback at least. Like, he's another guy who has the opportunity to be QB1, and that'll take you far. But does Achane really solidify that backfield? They still got Mostert, and I've been screaming about Mostert's downfall since he started to become good.
The guy will not go away.
He won't die. He will not die. Keenan Allen, what's his target share going to be like now on the Bears in that offense? Olave, he's probably going to be solid for you. Kyle Pitts, is he finally going to be?
See bad.
That I think is your biggest question mark. Kyle Pitts hits, I think you're going to be sitting pretty there. I want a share of the Packers receiver room. You have 2 shares. You have Jalen Reed and you have Deontay Wicks. I think either one of those guys can be solid. Adam Thielen can still be really good for you. Rashid Rice is also a big question mark there too.
Yeah.
So
his suspension will not be over 6 games.
No, and so you're fine there. You just got to survive that 6 games.
Playoffs.
Eckler's done. What do you got left in Nick Chubb? Like, those guys are held together with Saran wrap and
together they make one competent running back.
You're creating an RB2 in the aggregate. We're back to Moneyball, baby. Call up Mike Knapp. All right, now that we're done with contenders, who are the contenders for the first overall pick in the 2025 LED FFL draft?
It's a good question. I mean, Connor is too much of a layup for me, I think. Some team is just going to collapse, and I kind of think it's going to be Knapp.
I think it's Dino.
Yeah.
Dino is solid pick up there.
Dino is projected 70, 80 points for the first week, and on his head, and that's bold. He could very much put up 50.
Look, honestly. I got 4 guys on my team who can be fantasy relevant on any given week. I got whoever I'm starting at quarterback.
You got AJ Brown though.
I got AJ Brown. I got Deontay Johnson, and I got Evan Ingram. Outside of that,
all the matchups, man.
Bro, my running back room is Khalil Herbert and Kimi Vidal. I might have to seriously start Alexander Madison and Ty Johnson.
Oh, you're bad.
Yeah. Look, man, I said I was rebuilding. I'm rebuilding. I got the picks. I got 6 first-round picks in the next 2 years. I'm going to rebuild in the next 2 years. That's not including the 3 seconds I got in those drafts. But not having my own pick this year and my team being this bad really sucks. So I don't think Sam is going to get the first overall pick with his team.
I don't know. It's going to be a shit match between you and Connor. I don't know which one of you it's going to go to, but that's going to be the game. I think honestly, you both. One of you, I don't know if is gonna win a game, honestly, and I think the other one, their one win will be that other person. I don't know which way it's gonna go, but I think honestly,
Connor had some solid wins down the stretch last year.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before though. I think honestly, the league has never been more almost. I don't want to say equal, but more a better. Competition. I think everyone kind of upgraded their teams. I think Dino and Connor really kind of reined it in as, our teams fucking suck, and then everyone else's is pretty good.
My
and then
team didn't suck.
And then
my team sucks now.
No, that's not.
There's tiers, man.
Now I'm saying no, but I think it honestly just goes those two. Then Mostow, is just chilling there somewhere in that range.
Mostow
I think
and
everyone
Sam
else is pretty I think everyone else is pretty their team's solid. I think at any given day, I think any of those teams could beat Caraher. Do I think it's going to happen 8 times out of 10? No, but I think it could happen. So
you just gotta get in the dance. All you gotta do that's 2-step, baby.
Yeah.
All right, and then we've already kind of touched on it. We've talked about who we think our bottom tier teams are, but we've already kind of talked about the 2 teams I think are the most a mess. But who in this league's team is a mess? Who needs to sell their team? And why is it Jack Mostow?
It's because he doesn't trade away any of his good players when his team has no chance to contend.
Look, I don't know if he doesn't have a chance to contend. He doesn't have any long-term love. His whole team's old. There's a lot of question marks there. Is Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara really going to be top 10 backs again this year? How much does Cooper Kupp have left in the tank? Christian Kirk, I think, is outside of Ayuk, and is he even going to really be a Niner? I think Christian Kirk's the most solid guy on his roster.
Yeah.
And if Christian Kirk's the only sure thing.
That's such a crazy statement.
Dude, it's crazy, but like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm outside. It's like Christian Kirk and Pacheco are the only two guys I'm sitting here going, I know that they should be in his starting lineup right now.
I mean, and Bowers.
Dude, I don't know if Bowers is going to get off to a hot start.
I don't think so.
Rookie tight ends don't do good. And as much as I love Brock Bowers, there might be.
I guess Ayuk.
I do, but Ayuk is
still, dude. If he ends up on the Browns, that's essentially getting sent to the Phantom Zone.
He could go to the Browns. He could go to the Patriots. Like, there are a lot of meh he's talking about going to. But he could very well just hold out for the season. He very well just not play. Just say fuck it, pull a left belt. Like, I don't know. He wants to go to the Redskins. Who wants to go to the Redskins? That's where he's at. Yeah, he was posting about how he wanted to play with Jaden Daniels. That's how deep in the Ayuk wants to get traded. And it's like, once he leaves the Niners, he's not in that offense. How hard is he going to drop off?
Yeah.
And then it's like everybody else is just getting older. And
you got to be down bad in order to want to go to Washington, man.
Dude, he just wants money. And the Niners don't want to pay him.
They can't.
They still got to play Purdy.
Yeah.
And then the other guy we already talked about, and I don't want to beat on a dead horse, is Joe. I think his team is kind of in shambles right now for somebody who claimed to be flopping his dick on the table and really wants to be a contender. Stephon Diggs ain't it anymore, brother. He might be the third best receiver on that team. Derrick Henry's more than likely washed. Mark Andrews can't stay healthy. It's tough look over there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Joe's completely, like, dead in the water. I think his team still kind of got it. I just don't think for the amount of picks and the amount of stuff that he had, I feel like his team should be way better than what it is right now.
The Mark Andrews trade for him might be the most underrated fleece in league history. He traded away George Kittle and 2 firsts for Mark Andrews.
Ooh.
He got something else in that trade.
He got a second.
It was not worth it for his own. It was a 3-way trade, and he kind of just didn't. He kind of just let Tim get Kelsey.
Joe's net in that trade is George Kittle and 2 firsts for Mark Andrews. And George Kittle outperformed Mark Andrews last year by a lot.
Well, he also got a second. Damn. Dude, what the? Yeah, that's not great.
That is one of the most underrated fleeces in league history. Yeah, and the crazy part is he could have gotten Travis Kelce in that deal, but I think he wanted Mark Andrews because he's younger. But 2 firsts and George Kittle, who I think is not a far, when they're both healthy and they're both playing, is not a far drop off for Mark Andrews. And you gave up 2 firsts to make that happen.
I think they're in the same tier. I don't think you need to give up 2 firsts. But
I think at a health wise, I think Kittle is in the same tier, but I just don't think that Mark Andrews is the number 1 target in his offense when he's healthy. So he can be tight end 1 on any given year, but he never plays 16, never plays 17. So who cares?
Yeah.
Best ability is availability. You hear me say it all the time. And last, but surely not least, as we wrap out our first episode of the year, is our 2024 MVP projections. Who do we think will be the MVP of the league? Bev, I think you already know your pick, but hit me with it.
It's Tyreek Hill.
I'm shocked.
Shocking. I
didn't see that one coming.
Dude, he's just really good at football, and he kind of just will always be really good at football. He's really fast. I think this is the year he breaks 2,000.
You think?
Yeah.
Even though, they have to play some games in the cold again?
Yeah. This year we'll get him coats.
Oh.
Innovation.
Bachman, who's your pick?
The one and the only Jake and now.
Worth that third round pick, baby.
Yeah, we got to stick to it if we're going with our own teams. I got to say Jettas. I like Jefferson. I think he's honestly just a dog. Easily best receiver. He's better than Hill. I mean, say what you want. Like, no, not incorrect at all. I think longevity and in every single aspect, he's better. The quarterback situation kind of throws a little wrench in things. As much as I hate Kirk Cousins, I think he did make him look really good. And he only threw the ball to him and refused to throw the ball to anyone else when he was on the field.
He was confident.
Yeah, he got him the ball. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I still think he's going to be a dog and put up the best numbers and stuff.
So I got 2 guys. The first, if we're sticking with our own teams, we're going to go with A.J. Brown. put him in Kellen Moore's offense. He's going to pop off. But, being on my team, which might be the worst team in the league this year, it's kind of irrelevant. So you really can't win the MVP if you're on the worst team in the league. But the guy that I'm high on, I was high on last year, and he just didn't get the touches. It was a weird year for him. But Arthur Smith is gone. I think it might be Bijan. We all know I love myself a running back or two, and I wanted Bijan real bad from Eugene. I think that really is going to be a guy who pops off this year. And if Eugene's a contender, Bijan is running back 1 on the season, and that's kind of what I can see happening. So.
Okay. It's a good pick.
All right, and that is the MVP picks, the best podcast in the league. That is wrapping up episode 1. Would you guys like to give any last remarks before we say goodbye to the league for the week?
Best of luck, boys.
Best of luck,
Season
guys.
comes around soon. Hopefully, football is back. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you all are as well.
Football is definitely back. The best podcast is back. Don't watch Tim and Eugene's.
We don't even know if they're going to do it this year. All right.
Good night.
Have a good night, guys.
Adios.